Hey, what is up, all you people out there in social media land? This is T with Mind Readiness. We are finally back. It's only been like a straight month, I think. I see eyeballs up there in the corner, which means we have some people up in the house. And remember, don't forget to like, share, subscribe, throw some stuff out there. Out here in chat, who we got? Deanna Rogers. Deanna, it was great to see you at Fallout. Finally, glad you made it. It was awesome. Will Gomez, what's going on, brother? And my good friend Tom Bryce in the house. Burke Springs. We got people filing in here. We've got the fire stoked up. I'm going to tell you, it was kind of chilly. Not as chilly as where my guest tonight lives, but cold enough for me. I've gotten acclimated to this down south weather. So we're supposed to be down in, I believe, the 20s tonight. So, and the wind is just cutting, but, I'm excited. We got a great show tonight with this awesome person who I'm wearing this shirt. I love free shirts. I love free things. It's how I roll. It's kind of like my own little personal snap card, no pun intended. But hey, Seth Triplett is in the house too. Loki's mom. Guys, how have you been? I have missed every single one of you. Been super busy. It's been nonstop. It seems like we had Fallout, of course, that went great. Couldn't have asked for better weather. Rain held off until I think Sunday evening, which is fine. It didn't actually rain until I think almost 9 o'clock. So it was a great weather, great weekend. Got to hang out, do all kinds of fun stuff. I actually had a chance to stop and smell the roses, so to speak. Hang out with you guys, take some pictures, even sit in on some classes, which is odd. Usually I'm just running around cleaning toilets and emptying the trash. So, Teresa, how are you doing? Good to see you, Teresa. It seems like just yesterday I was hanging out with you guys because I was down there at CanCon. Shout out to the guys from Recoil Off Grid. CanCon 2025 did not disappoint. What a blast. We had the entire crew there, Tactical Rifleman, NC Scout. We had Rally Point. We had the Angry American. We had Russ. And, of course, don't forget the Russ of Oz, which is back there behind the curtain. We call him the Russ of Oz because he's always back there pulling the levers and doing all the things that I'm no good at because I'm too busy running this yap. But it was a great time. We had a blast. And there's Patrick 7. Sup, nerds? Absolutely. Back at you there, Patrick. Patrick is one of them guys that we finally got to meet him. I did, and it's been years and years in the making. So he come down to Fallout, then he come down and he hung up out with us there at CanCon, and we just had a blast. You know, and the best part about these events is it's not just the hanging out and learning. It's the stuff around the campfires, you know, just sitting there enjoying each other's time, each other's company. And it's just a great time. And like Russ said, too, don't forget Pete and Tom. And yes, they were awesome. All these people just hanging out, enjoying each other's company, like-minded individuals. That's the thing. And I've said this many times, guys, like I can just close myself off from the world here on the Back 40. It's easy to do because a lot of times the world is, I don't know. I'm not a fan. I'm not a fan of the world a lot of times. But by closing yourself off from the world, at least from like-minded individuals like what's in this chat right here, man, you just don't grow as a person. And so we have to get out. We have to come together and learn, right? Because man, when you just lock yourself away and you don't interact with other like-minded human beings, you become stale. I guess that's the best way to put it, man. You become stale, and it takes everybody coming together and being that community to keep us sharp. So let's, what do we got here? Comments. Russ, if you have a question for our guest. Oh, we don't even put that up there yet because I haven't even brought our guest out yet. Let's get to a couple other things. As you can tell, I'm rusty at this, man. I've been a month out And I'm just jumping the gun left and right. Sandra Davis, how are you doing? What do we got here? Let's see. We need a 2026 Bearded Men of Preparedness calendar. Man, sign me up. Hook us up. We've got plenty. They are plentiful. That is for sure. Russ finally, he could be part of this as well because he finally grew his beard back out. Thank all the Lord above because never do that again, Russ. Never do that again. That sounds like a great idea. So banners. Let me find them. You know what? I'm not going to do it. There we go. Mountain Readiness. It's 4.0. May 1st through the 3rd. Guys, we are live on the website. You can buy tickets all the way up to December 31st. This is the cheapest these tickets going to get, y'all. Ain't going to get any cheaper. So if you want them at this price, December 31st is what you got till the price goes up. I know. It's kind of, you're like, why does he do that? Well, because I have bills to pay. And the trash man and the porta potty man and all these people at these events, they all want their money. So I got to shell out that cheddar. So spread some cheddar on this cracker, y'all, because I got to pay the bills. And we want to get this at the best price to you as we possibly can. This is going to be a great time. This next May is going to be off the hooks. In fact, all next year is going to be off the hook. Because we have our Montana show. Now, tickets will be live for this coming up very shortly. I'm getting the last few details ironed out on the website. But, yeah, Mountain Readiness Montana is going to be in July. I think it's the 24th through the 26th. We're going to be up there with Joe Dolio above Swan Lake. And look, yes, it is a ridiculously long drive. But here's the gig. You are 1 hour from Glacier National Park, which is supposed to be like the most phenomenal park that you can see in the United States. Not to mention, if you were driving from this neck of the woods, you're going to be going through the Badlands. You're going to be going past Yellowstone, all these things. We're going to be on an 80-acre lodge. This is a veteran-owned lodge. And it's gorgeous. It's gorgeous. It has camping, RV sites. We've got a professional kitchen. There's classrooms. The view is amazing. It has 2 live fire ranges on it, which we're going to be hosting some classes before and after. So, man, get your spot as soon as you can. Come join us. Yes, it's a long drive, but it will be worth it, I guarantee you. Other events, the Sovereign Health Summit. There it is. Man, Russ is on it, man. I went to go click on it, and it was already up on the screen. Remember, the Sovereign Health Summit, which is October the 27th through the 31st. We focus a lot on gear, the things that we have, all of our stuff. But at the end of the day, if we do not have our health, then it's just that. It's just stuff. Health is important, guys, and we want to bring you the finest speakers in the world of circadian and alternative health, which this will be with Barbara O'Neill, Doc Lee Merritt, Jonathan Otto. The list goes on and on and on, and we keep bringing more awesome people on board. We're going to have vendors, raffles. This is going to be 5 straight days of healing, and it is literally from soil to soul. We're healing from start to finish. So put that on your calendars if you're going to do anything. This is the one to see. Not going to lie. So, but I'll tell you what, let's get into our show. Let's get into our show here. And Micah's dad, man, I'm glad to hear it. I'm glad to hear it, brother. Glad that you're going to roll down with us because it's going to be awesome. And yes, spread some cheddar on this cracker. Me and Billy Bond, we have this thing. He has his cool t-shirt that he's got. And so this is going to be my t-shirt that I'm going to make. It's kind of just the opposite. It's the same as his, but on the opposite end of the spectrum. If you know Billy Bond and watch Pinner Pasha's Farm, you have seen his shirt. I don't even have to tell you about it. So this is going to be my version. I'm going to throw that out there. What we got going on here, Andrew? Yes, dates out early. Dates are out early, and I'm going to have the class schedule out early as well. All right, guys, I know you can't believe it, but instead of being 3 days out from the event, I'm going to try for at least a week. I'm going to try for at least a week out from the event. So you got a whole 5 days to plan for the event. So, have I lost weight? I hope so. Andrew, I'll be completely honest. I have been, the past few months, I have been using the Cell Saviors and the Soil Saviors products. It's been doing a world of good. And I just recently started doing a cleanse using certain said things that I cannot say on Facebook and YouTube Live to help me rid my body of bad things so that I can heal. I'm going to tell you, it is awesome. I've felt better this past month than I have in years, and that's a fact. And if you have not checked them out, go over there and check out our friends Pat Miletich and Will Spencer over there at Soil Saviors and Cell Saviors. Pretty soon I will have them up as one of our partners on the website, and I'll be promoting that stuff every time here because boom, there it is. Click on that thing, scan that link. Awesome stuff. And this is the Soil Saviors. Remember, it's the same thing. You got to put in Cell Saviors if you want all the good stuff for you, which, I mean, it cross-pollinates, right? But there is a difference. There is slightly a difference. What else do we got here? Seth, what are you talking about? Don't let him fool you. He's trying for the next Thor for Mark. Yeah, I am. Look at this. Like, we got the Thor hair thing. Like, look at that. Like you just stepped out of a salon. Like, that's what we've got going on. Salon Selective. All right, guys, let's jump into this. So our guest tonight is a single mother of two. She is, let me get my paper out because she is a whole lot of things. It's hard to remember. I got a whole book in front of me. You know, the owner of MPX Fitness. She's got her own gym, martial arts studio. She was Fargo's first sanctioned professional mixed martial arts fighter, as well as a professional boxer. She has a really mean face when you get up in there. We did a picture, like I felt slightly threatened. I'm not going to lie. Personal trainer and coach. She's a college professor. I did not know this either. Works with the community with local youth programs. Host of the Fargo, North Dakota Define the Fight radio show and podcast, which I had the pleasure of being on, that she so graciously invited me on. But without further ado, let's bring out our guest, Mariah Prussia.
Hey, how's it going tonight? Cheddar.
It is going.
The white cracker.
Yeah. Spread some cheddar on this cracker. Man, that's how I roll. Well, I mean, our mutual friend Billy, you've seen how he talks. You know, he has a tendency to rub off on you, it seems like.
Hey, he's a straight shooter. It's good.
That's how I like it. So, Mariah, thanks for being part of our humble podcast here. It is an honor to have you with us tonight. And let's get into, I really like to go with, I get that the past does not define us, right? But the past really does have a big effect on molding kind of who we are. Like, my past is why I am who I am today. So, I know all this cool stuff that you've got going on in your life right now, but what was your beginnings? Like, where did Mariah Prussia start, and how did you end up where you are now?
Well, I think everybody has those pieces, and we have to collect different pieces throughout our life to put the jigsaw puzzle of life together. I've always been in sports, right? So I played 3 sports in college, which led to a lot of different things that I do from a health and wellness perspective. But when you look at fighting and you look at teaching self-defense, for me, a lot of that came into play, A, by accident, but then also, 2, by the fact of what I had experienced in college and then outside of college. So when you look at, and when I teach women's self-defense seminars, 1 in 4 women are either sexually assaulted or raped in their 4 years of college. Now, that's what is reported. And I fall into those stats. So it's very important for me to make sure that if I am able to provide tools and skills and knowledge to current women to help prevent something from them potentially experiencing, why wouldn't I want to do that? So through that led me into a different path as well. But, for me, getting into the cage happened because of the fact of opening my gym. I had a female Remember, she came into one of my classes. I taught cardio kickboxing, and she goes, Mariah, do you know my son? I was like, no, who's your son? He goes, well, he fought on Spike TV for mixed martial arts. And I said, oh, okay, great. She goes, well, I really think you should meet him. I'm like, all right, well, let's bring it on. So to make a long story short, I met with him with the intention of doing some one-on-one training sessions so I could enhance my own physical fitness, but then also incorporate different combinations into my kickboxing class. What ended up happening is our first session, he owned a trailer house. So he went over there with a wrestling mat laid out right in the middle of the floor. And he goes, okay, Mariah, we're going to start off with Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. I want you to lay on your back and wrap your legs around me. And I'm like, could I get your last name, buddy? Yeah, very, very, well, awkward. So I made sure that I brought somebody with me because I didn't know what to anticipate. But after that training session, he came to my gym and we ended up doing striking. And he goes, Mariah, I really think that you should fight. And at that point is when the journey of mixed martial arts and boxing came into play. And man, it was a heck of a ride. I had zero anticipation of being Fargo's first sanctioned female fighter, and then what, different things within the community would string with it.
Now, did you freeze up there, Mariah? Oh, she's still there.
No, I'm here.
There. Okay, all right. A little bit choppy, but we can work through it. I think it's just some internet stuff. Could even be me. But on the fighting side of things, like, well, I don't like to talk about women's ages, but you jumped into the ring like in a much latter part of life when a lot of fighters are wrapping their career up. I mean, even.
You can say it. I'm not a spring chicken. It's okay.
It isn't a looks thing either. It isn't a looks thing, but can we say what your age was when you first did your first professional fight?
I started training and I started training when I was 36, and my first professional fight was when I was 37. So literally in that time frame, I started training in February of 2013. But before my first fight in June, I actually completely tore my Achilles tendon. So for that, a week later, I ended up having surgery. The next day after having surgery, I went strictly right back into training on one leg because I knew that my first fight was scheduled for October 26th. And during that time frame, I had no idea what that was going to look like when I was able to walk. But I know that when I spoke to the surgeon, I said, what is the fastest that somebody has ever recovered from an Achilles tear or a repair? He said, 9 to 12 months is the fastest I've ever seen. And I said, okay, so you gave me a window of opportunity. I said, I've got a fight in October that I'll be not canceling, that I will be showing up for. So let's get the ball rolling. Trained, I push mowed my lawn on one leg with my walker strapped to the push mower. At that point, I'm trying to corral my kids with crutches. And it all comes down to mindset. When you want something bad enough, you're going to push yourself mentally and physically to make sure that happens. And that's literally where defining the fight comes from, is what do you want to do? And what are you willing to do to get there?
Oh, yeah. No, and injuries, I can tell you that is rough. And every year that goes by, it becomes a little bit more difficult, those injuries to heal. What was your last fight? What was your age of your last fight that you did?
My last fight was actually boxing. So I had my pro boxing debut when I was 40 or 41, and that was on Virgil Hill's card. So I had a fight leading up. I was supposed to fight in 2019, but then with COVID, that's when all of my fighting stuff ended up coming to a halt. I don't know if I would still be fighting today or not if COVID wasn't there. But I was chomping at the bit to get back either in the cage or into the ring. And then clearly with the time spread in between, life goes on.
Absolutely. Absolutely. No, I couldn't agree more. I know I had quite the fight for the amateur side of things, and nowhere near the level that you were on. Ours was like that whole sign this release waiver. That way you can't sue if you die, and jump in there and beat each other's brains out. But we've got a couple questions over here, and they're related to the fighting part of things. So we've got FIB here, and let's see what he says. Mariah, do you think your competitive past helped you excel in MMA and women's self-defense? Have women struggled with the self-defense training if they didn't have a competitive background?
All right, so let's start with the first part of that question. Do I think that my competitive past helped excel in mixed martial arts and women's self-defense? Absolutely. I think all of our past can help us excel. And I think too, the collegiate sport actually helped us, into that whole fighting realm and women's self-defense. I want to make sure that this is clear. I'm not teaching women how to fight. The goal is to teach them how to prevent the fight. And then whatever situations that they may or may not be in are in real life scenarios. So the goal is to teach them how to, hey, sometimes you have to stay in play, but depending on the scenario, you want to make sure that your life is the measurement of success. So again, whether it's fight, flight, freeze, you want to make sure that it's optimal for that individual. And each scenario is going to be a little bit different. Are they in a parking lot? Are they out in the country where they really have no lifelines? That's what it comes down to. But when you're looking at, have they struggled with the self-defense training? No, they haven't. As you all know, that there's some individuals that are clearly more coordinated than others, where it just takes a little bit longer for them to get the details down. But for the sake of the self-defense, it's technique driven. It's not about fitness level. So I think that's the key thing when it comes down to it. The only part where I have seen women struggle is I've had a lot of women come into the self-defense that have experienced domestic violence or have had some type of background. And when we go into submissions or anything that is an uncomfortable situation for them, I always make sure that I mention, if you've ever experienced something like this in your past, the last thing that we want to do is trigger that old wound. So if you need to step to the side or go without a partner so that you can go through that movement pattern.
No, that's a great point. Great thing to bring up there. As a man, it's and I can tell, that you this isn't like this sexist thing I'm not trying to put there, but there's no doubt that, man versus a woman, frame, body, what your capabilities are and stuff like that. I mean, I love how you are working from the angle of, that going up against a man, you're going to have to redirect a lot of this in order to win that, right? To even if it comes down to just kick and run, so it's how have you grown personally in the fight world? I mean, it sounds like you train with a whole lot of guys. Am I correct about that? Because I know when I fought, it was always, I tried to train with the stronger, faster, bigger, more experienced people. That's the whole point. You get better by jumping into the ring with these people that have way more experience with you. And so when you fight in your weight class and all that kind of stuff, but fighting with men, I mean, how has that helped transform you, fighting and tumbling with these bigger adversaries when it comes to the ring?
I absolutely love it because you get a bunch of alphas in the room, and the fact of too, I didn't want them to go light on me. I was like my dad's tomboy boy that he never had, I would say. I got to share a story with you though. I went out to Rufus Sport to train, and I had no idea really what I was getting into. Anthony Pettis was the one that got me into the pro classes there. So when I came into the gym for the first day, they only had a couple pro female fighters during that time frame. And the first person that I met was Tyron Woodley. And I was like, okay, so what should I anticipate in today's class? And he goes, well, it's going to be sparring. I said, so basically what is going to happen is I'm going to get my ass handed to me. And he's like, yep, pretty much. Talk about a humbling feeling though. I was able to put myself in the position of somebody who's walking into the gym for the first time ever, that nervous energy, not knowing what to expect. And now that entire time I was there training, all of the pro females were gone. So it was all of the males that I was training with. And I tell you what, that was definitely an experience that I will never forget. However, with sparring, they were going into timing sparring. So I really didn't have to worry about getting dropped.
My most memorable moment in the gym was, it took a lot of guts just to jump in the circle with him, but we had Bill Superfoot Wallace at the school. And that he's one of the old school fighters, the fastest feet in the business. And I wasn't even barely 18 at the time. And I jumped in with Bill, and he did that hook kick, that spinning kick with a hook kick, come back around, almost broke my nose. It was one of the most great parts of my life in the ring or in sparring. But that guy there, he was well up into his late 50s, I believe, mid to late 50s when I sparred him. And it was one of those humbling yet awesome moments, just like you're talking about there, to get in there with like a legend with that guy. And I didn't even go around. I mean, I couldn't have made it if I wanted to, but
you had war wounds from it,
awesome.
right? You had wounds from
Exactly.
that. You're like, hey, this is proof.
Hey, this nose ain't crooked like it is from just sitting around staring at this computer screen. That's for sure.
That's awesome.
Quite a few breaks to that thing. We've got a couple questions out here. John Weaver, he says, define the fight. How long did you train between mat session 1 and the first cage fight?
7 months.
7 months.
Typically individuals are training for years. So I ended up starting training in February of 2013, and I had my first fight in October. So the background that I had was I had hit mitts a couple of times, but with being an athlete, I was able to pick up a lot of different things in a short period of time frame. Now, do I wish that I would have had more time? 100%. But my first fight was crazy because I had to make sure that I faked that I could walk without having a partial limp because of my Achilles tendon, right? So I did. And then it was tunnel vision. You're walking up into the cage. And it was the first time that the show had been completely sold out. WDAY, the sports was there to highlight and film all of this. So there's a lot of pressure because they wanted to see the first professional female. The very first round was horrible. I was in a standing guillotine choke for almost 5 minutes. And then when I came to my corner, I had a partial cut by my eyebrow. And my cornerman goes, okay, Mariah, don't worry. You just have a little bit of blood. Everything's going to be okay. I said, Dane, I bleed every single month. I think I'm going to be okay. But the hard part was I was standing in the corner and it felt, because my neck muscles were so fatigued, it was like my head was a bowling ball balancing on top of a straw. So mentally what I'm saying to myself is, Mariah, you have to go out and you have to go out strong. Get her to the ground. So going into that second round, we exchanged a couple punches, went into a double leg takedown, dropped her, and then went into ground and pound where she ended up tapping out. So thank God, no one could see that my head was like a bobblehead. But I really, I wasn't going to fail in that moment. I knew that I didn't want to let anybody down. This was my first experience. Again, tunnel vision, a lot of anticipation, a lot of new people coming in to watch the mixed martial arts world in our area. So, thankfully, the cards were in the right favor and the mindset was there to complete the task.
Awesome. Did you even remember a lot of your first fight though? Because I didn't. I don't. Like, all I remember is, everyone screaming in the entire crowd. It was just deafening, but I could not hear it. It was just, I could see everybody's mouths moving, but really there wasn't any noise. It was just this dull hum and focus on what was in front of me. But, I'll never forget that fight. I was fighting this guy. He real skinny dude. All the little skinny guys, man, they're just like, they're tougher. I don't know what it is. He was tall, lanky, and I beat that dude like he owed me money. And it was like back and forth. It was like some Rocky Balboa movie. I was up against the rope, getting my head just thumped. He was busting my melon with everything he had. And right before I would drop, I get him on the ropes, and we just went back and forth. And really, it was like rock'em sock'em robots. We just beat each other unmercifully until finally, he finally fell. And but that fight there, I'll never forget it. But when I say I never forget it, I forget. I don't remember most of it. I just never forget those little bitty key factors of it. I remember in the ring, my martial arts instructor. I remember him holding my legs up and him slapping me in the face and be like, "Hey, come back. Don't drink that water. Just swish it around in your mouth." I wanted to drink that water. I remember I wanted to drink that water so bad. And then I found out later why you don't drink the water when you're in the fight, fighting in the ring like that. But do you remember everything of that, or was it just pure adrenaline and just living on adrenaline?
T, when you're literally up against the cage and somebody has a noose around your neck for 5 minutes, you don't forget. You don't forget any of it. No. It was definitely, like I said, a great experience. And I'm just grateful that it led me into wins after that. My second fight was probably my most memorable because it was my shortest one. So going from 5-minute choke to finishing in the second round to then my second fight coming out and winning in 27 seconds, it was like, all right, now we're going in the right direction.
That's it for sure. I know we got a couple more here, and I don't know if we can even touch on that. I don't know. Let's see. I mean, we'll throw up here. What's your opinion of Ronda Rousey as a fighter? I mean, do you even want to touch that right there? It doesn't matter, does it?
Well, here's the thing is, the great thing about Ronda Rousey is this: she brought women's MMA to the forefront. And without her, it wouldn't have expanded and blown up as it has today. Now, what I would say in regards to one of her fights, striking is not her strong point. So when it comes to standing and striking, what she's known for in regards to judo, arm bars, so on and so forth. I think she left her strength. But the key thing is she was a pivotal piece and a needed piece for women in MMA.
I couldn't agree more, and I actually enjoyed watching a lot of her fights. I'm not going to lie. She was spunky. And I think a lot of it was just attitude, that attitude thing. It is entertaining. I mean, there is something to be said for just the entertainment side of the fight. But, no, let's see here. Will had another question for you here. He said, to find a fight, Mariah, can you speak on how your philosophy can relate to preparedness? There's a great question, since we're in the self-reliance and preparedness world.
There's a lot of different ways that you can intertwine or create preparedness from that. Visualization, I think, is a key thing when it comes to fighting, but it also comes to life. Being able to see yourself in different scenarios and how you would make sure that, hey, if option A fails, where do I go for B? And making sure that you have the skills and the tools. So when you look at mixed martial arts, there's a lot of different tools that you need in your toolbox. If you only have one skill, you're not going to get very far. So if you're strictly a boxer, well, now you've got somebody who's coming in with kicks. You've got somebody who's coming in with a wrestling background for takedowns. You've got somebody on the ground for Brazilian jiu-jitsu. So if you're taken out of your strength and into your weakness, or something that you haven't even prepared for, now you're losing the battle. So when you look at preparedness from a life skills, it's the same. If you're only focusing on one aspect, I had Wesley Hightower on my show today, so thank you for that introduction. He's great. He was talking about communications. You need to make sure that you've got communication. You also need to make sure that you've got an area study. All of these different components all add into the big picture. So that's where I would say the preparedness comes in. And no matter what, you can work on your physical body, which we all need to do. You can work on your nutrition. But where we have big gaps that I see in our society today is mindset, is really making sure that you can, what is your red line? Define what that red line is. And if you've never even tried to get to it, I highly recommend doing so, because then you know how you're going to perform underneath stress or underneath pressure.
That I agree with 100%. And that's, we live in a world too that really just doesn't, I don't know, it doesn't allow us to test ourselves to that unless we really, really search it out. I mean, like, even down to the television shows, you see like the Alone and the Naked and Afraid and all these different shows, but it's one of those things, like, if you're not in the situation, at least for me, if you're not in a situation that you're not able to push the easy button, yeah, tap out, I'm done. Like, how do you really know where that line is? We can always train, and it's, of course, you fall back to your level of training, right? That's what it's about. But it's getting out there. That's why I really enjoyed fighting in the ring, because you could tap, but at the same time, you're in there. It's real. It's right there in your face, and you are doing something that I think our ancestors. It's primal. Like for me, it was a step out above the norm. I don't know, maybe I'm just an adrenaline junkie or something. I mean, there's something to be said about that. I mean, getting in there and there's something about going in there and just hand to hand beating each other half to death. And it sounds horrible. At the end of it, though, I mean, I have a lot of good friends still that I competed against. And we stayed in touch for years and years and years. After, it was always like, wow, man, that was a hardcore fight, and moving on, but stayed good friends. It's just, I don't know. I think in society we've gotten kind of soft, don't you think? I think we've gotten soft, and we should be doing these type of things. I don't know, that fighting and that warrior mindset is just kind of diminished over the years.
I wholeheartedly agree. And you know what? I'm going to circle back to the respect. So some people would question me, Mariah, how are you empowering women by beating up women in the cage? And I said, how am I not? I said, we are both working on different disciplines. We're going through strict nutritional components to make sure that we're making weight, and we're stepping into a cage that most would never want to step into. I said, so tell me how that is not empowering. And I said, what you don't recognize is at the end of the fight, you have mutual respect for that individual who went through the same prepared things that you did. And the reality is, yes, there's one person that wins and the other person doesn't. But at the same point, you both win because you had the courage, you had the dedication and the grit to get into the cage in the first place. But then when circling into society and it becoming soft, it's true. Digital addiction, all of the different things that have shifted. When you look at the fact of 2020, 158 million children were labeled as obese. By 2030, we're looking at 254 million. That should scare the hell out of people in regards to how we're feeding our children, all of the different sources that we're providing them, and then getting them out in nature. So I know when COVID hit, I had to stop some of the things at the gym. I trained people in my house. Sorry, man, I'm just going to throw that out there. And then I also did boot camps outside because I believe that when you're going to define health, you need to define it all the way and not just from one perspective or one factor. But what I dove into was researching the Navy SEALs. So when you're talking about defining that red line and pushing that envelope, I committed a full year to their mental training, but then also their crucibles, diving into the 12-hour crucible. I did multiple 5 hours, and then I did their sheepdog training. And hands down, that year is when I would say that I had the highest level of growth, because you're working with individuals with emotional intelligence. You're working with individuals that have seen a lot of different things, but their focus, their resiliency, and their ability to communicate is off the chains. So what I would say is, if you haven't tested your red line, research and look for a way to do so, because that 12-hour crucible, I was one female out of 30 people. And I could tell you what, looking at individuals' eyes, I knew who was going to break before they did.
Right. No, and the Navy SEALs, I love it. You actually trained with a bunch of these guys then?
Well, I wouldn't say that they were training side by side with us, but I mean, they literally, you're getting swore at water. You're diving headfirst in and out of ice baths and 30-degree temperatures in the mountains in California. You're going through the Murph, bear crawling, rucks, all of these different components. No-handed burpees. Who even know that those existed? But you can do them in the sand. But it's okay. you have to win. You have to win the battle in your mind before you step foot on the battlefield, and that's the battlefield of life.
I've got to see the no-handed burpee, because I'm not going to lie, burpees suck. They do. I still do them, but no-handed, I've got to see what that actually looks like.
You dive shoulder first. You dive down shoulder first, and then to get up, it's like a safety get up, right? So you turn to your butt and then slide up to a standing position.
Slide your knees up.
Yep.
Yeah, that sounds even more horrible. Awesome. But that's what it's about, right? Growth through suffering.
Yep.
So,
100%.
Mr. Patrick Seven, the name of her podcast is Define the Fight. Russ, can you throw that up there so that people can scan this thing and get on board with what Mariah is doing? There you go, guys. We made it easy for you. Throw your cell phone, that evil rectangular demonic box that you carry around in your pocket, the two-edged sword. Scan that thing and subscribe, like. She's all over the social media too, Facebook, Instagram. I think that's it. Are you on any other platforms?
Just YouTube, Facebook, Instagram.
Instagram.
I have TikTok. I've posted some things on that, which is Define the Fight. But when you're looking for my podcast, if you put in my first and last name, that's where you're going to find it.
Yep. Yes. Okay. I didn't see you on TikTok. My bad. I'm on there. It's sad. Don't watch it. It's TikTok is where I do a lot of ridiculous shit, to be completely honest, with turkeys and chickens and stupidity like that.
It's all good.
You are welcome, Patrick. You know, all these things that you are doing, I mean, you are all over the place, nonstop, 100 miles an hour, single mother of 2, if I'm not mistaken, yep. And, demanding career. How do you balance the survival mode with the growth mode? I mean, you're just like 100 miles an hour all the time. How does that work?
I don't think we ever truly have balance in life. I think sometimes when we get close to it, then we typically add something onto the plate. It's like walking through the buffet line. You've got this plate, and you're like, oh man, I want to add this onto my plate. And we go through until our plate is heaping. It's recognizing now, I mean, I have a lot of things right now. I've taken some things off, and I'm navigating and moving towards that point of everything that I currently do, though, funnels into health and wellness and empowerment. So for me, I don't know if I necessarily go into survival mode because I'm so excited for my mission, because I know that it's larger than myself, and for what's to come, because I feel like all of the chapters that I've currently had in my past have led me to this moment of today.
Okay. All right. So let's talk about Define the Fight and what that is and how that became what it is today. I mean, what actually is Define the Fight?
Define the Fight is my mantra. So we'll just say prime example. When I was going through that 12-hour crucible, I was watching the sun. I was like, all right, how many hours are we in? And then it's like when you start questioning or pushing and you're struggling, it's like, okay, Mariah, define your fight. So define your why. Why are you here? And everybody is going to have a different fight in life, in different phases of their life, whether it's health, professional, financial, all of those different pieces of the puzzle. But until you truly define what that fight is, it's hard to win that fight. Because what you end up doing is it's this monkey brain. It's constantly going and going and going. So sometimes what we need to do is push the pause button and say, hold on, what am I actually fighting for? And is it worth fighting for, or is it worth letting go of? Because sometimes we hang on to anchors when we actually need to cut the rope. So that's what it comes down to. And Define the Fight actually came into play more so after my fight career, because I was, I'd probably say in 2018 is when that came into play, where I'm like, what is my mantra? My fight name was MPX, Mariah Prussia Extreme, because my first gym was named Extreme Measures with an X. And, right now I think everybody's in a fight. And when we take out all of the different political views and recognize that we're in spiritual warfare, there's a lot of different areas that we need to work on ourselves to win this fight, and we can't do it solo.
Man, I love it. I love what you said right there. And the spiritual warfare side of things, like that to me is something that we really need to be focusing on, spiritually. I myself am working on that same thing, is spiritual growth, getting back to the basics on that. I had, my fight career was all amateur, and we had some semi-pro stuff in there, but I was going to go for my pro card, it didn't work out. My oldest daughter had been born, and it was like, okay, I need to work, or I need to keep doing this and not making money at the time, you know. And so, but I was like a 52-1 fighter. I had 52 wins, 1 loss, 26 knockouts, and my 1 loss was by points. And so he went to the hospital, and I went home with a 2nd place trophy. And I remember going home and throwing every single trophy that I had in the garbage. And there's some pictures circulating out there, just trophies everywhere in the background, belts everywhere. I threw every single one of them in the trash, and I kept just the 2nd place one, because that one became the one that was the only one that actually really mattered anymore, you know, for me. And it was a weird feeling. Like, you know, I remember in the gym outside of the cage there on the wall, there was a sign, and it said, you know, your opponent is training harder than you. And I always took that to heart, you know, and I always knew that there's always somebody out there tougher than you. You just hope you never meet them. Right. And so, and I didn't even meet that guy. It was just one of those point things. That's the way the cards fell. And it was kind of a grounding moment for me, you know, and I still fought some after that, but it was one of those moments where that trophy meant 100 times more than all those first place, because it brought me down to earth, and it said, hey, you know, this is the kind of stuff that happens. This is that defining moment. You need to reevaluate yourself and figure out what you're going to be moving towards, you know, going forward. What was your mindset on loss? I mean, how did that work for you?
My very first loss, I was 3-0. And then I had my loss, and it was very, very challenging for me, because I felt like I had let everybody else down. It wasn't about myself at that point. I didn't realize until after being done fighting that, wow, was I fighting for everybody else? And at what point did I actually fight for myself? And that was huge. That was huge for me. But I had one of my sponsors after the fight. He came up to me and he goes, Mariah, I apologized to him. I said, you know, I'm sorry for that loss. And, you know, I'm grateful for your sponsorship, so on and so forth. And he just said, Mariah, I couldn't be more proud of you than I am right now. This is not a defining moment for you. Look at all the people that are here and the impact that you have left on them from getting into the cage. He goes, I will always be in your corner, whether it's from a sponsorship perspective or attending your fights or whatever you do within the community. And that was huge for me. And what I can say is we put so much stress on winning, when the reality is we learn more in failure or in loss. And sometimes we need that swift kick in the pants or that humble pie to say, hey, you're not invincible. You need to learn from this, and you need to grow from it. And that's where you start developing a warrior mindset, because if you win at every single thing in life, what's going to happen during that one moment when you don't? You're not equipped with loss. And then all of a sudden you get dropped on your backside.
No, I love that. I love that. Yeah, that was a tough pill for me to swallow. It really was, like all those wins and then that, and I was mad forever. And but that was probably the best learning experience that I ever had, was when I lost that fight. That and like I said, I fought after that. It was just it was that grounding. Sometimes you need to be grounded to get back on your feet. You know, I was running too high up into the clouds, man. Needed that grounding, get focused again. But we've got a couple questions out here. Let's see here. Define the fight. Mariah, do you offer empowerment classes or just watch the podcast? Well, both. Both will.
Gotta love Will. I do offer mindset coaching. So I work with different clients. So whether you want to call it empowerment classes or not, there's a lot of different things that I'm working on, which includes having my first book released in 2026, which is for the mindset. So that, again, coming soon. But yes, I'm a firm believer in the mindset. You know, everybody tries to outdo all of these different components, or, you know, you look at the mountains. Let's say you've got the emotional mountain, you got the physical mountain. And what I recognize through a huge portion of my life is when I dealt with stress, it was always the physical mountain. Go, 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 go. You can outdo this, whether you're running, whether you're punching stuff. But what I found out was I had a hard time sitting in sacred silence. The moments that I actually had were very limited of being in that quiet area. And that's when there were certain things that I hadn't worked on started trickling back into the mind. So focus on, I'm just going to give this little tidbit advice, is when you are stressed or something triggers or pops into your head, where do you go to first? Are you going to the gym? And are you utilizing the physical mountain to avoid the emotional mountain? And sometimes, let's be honest, the mountain does help because it gets our endorphins going. It's a stress release and it's great. And I have great reflection time, especially when I'm doing cardio. I can go deep in that piece of time, but really break down, what do you do when high stress hits? And is it for avoidance or is it for betterment?
Great words. Adding to that, I think, and you even touched on that with what you were saying is being by yourself, and I mean truly by yourself and staring at yourself. That's one of those moments for me. Like, there's been those times where you try to surround yourself with all kinds of people to ignore the things that you should be paying attention to, because you don't really want to face them. You don't want to deal with that right now. And so, looking at yourself in the mirror and dealing with yourself, because, man, there's been many times where I've got on my own nerves. There's no doubt about it. What do you got here, Seth? He says, funny, I remember a great Snoop Dogg saying, fail just stands for first attempt in learning. You can't beat Snoop D-O-double-G. Can't beat old Snoop.
That's awesome.
John Weaver. Mr. John, to find out, will you be bringing some copies to Mountain Readiness, or will it be released by then? That's a great question. I mean, do you have a time frame in 2026 that this is maybe coming around?
My goal is early 2026. So in regards to copies, then yes, to answer your question, because when I set a goal, I'm going to hit it.
Absolutely. There you go. Perfect. Well, then it's highly possible there could be some stuff there. Now, I know are you guys going to be out in May? I can't remember. I know Pat was coming. Were you going to make it out the 1st of May to Mountain Readiness, or was that still not in the cards yet?
Not sure. I have to see what all comes into play with my other components, whether it's speaking or seminars. I have to see where those books land for 2026.
Right. And then Patrick said, when is the episode with Wes Hightower going to be uploaded?
So we just had our show today, and it typically takes them a couple of days because they cut out the commercials, and then they basically blend it, right? So I usually will get the show on either Wednesday or Thursday. So as soon as I get that, then I will upload that to the YouTube channel.
Awesome. Yeah, Wes is he's been with us since the very first Mountain Readiness. We've been hanging for 3 years, man. Wes is good people and a plethora of knowledge, I've got to say. Love that guy. He is awesome. What's a day in the life of Mariah Prussia, like start to finish? What does that look like? I mean, I'm interested myself, and that's why I'm asking this is when the feet hit the floor, I mean, how does that look? Because you've got all these irons in the fire and stuff, and I would love to see what the juggling act actually looks like on paper. So what is a day in the life?
It really all depends on the day. So I'm just going to rock with like a Thursday. Let's go with a Thursday just for, why not? Average time of getting up is 4:30, 5 o'clock in the morning. I usually teach classes at 5 a.m. So thankfully I converted one of our Quonsets into a gym. So it's got, we've got MMA mats down, zebra mats. We've got heavy bags, tie bags, you name it in there. So I have individuals that come 20 to 30 minutes to come out to the farm to train with me. After that, literally it's a turn and burn. We're done by 6:15. I head right away, make sure my son is ready to rock, head into town at about 6:20 a.m. to train clients in Fargo. So from 7 until about 11 a.m. in personal training clients. Then I go to the college. I teach from 12 to 1:15. I'm grateful for unbelievable students that are in the exercise science industry. So I teach group exercise leadership. So they learn how to program, design different styles of classes so that they can teach. And then we also go over different personal training strategies. But we also went through, I had a good time with them one day. We went through some different self-defense and then how to move individuals as they were wounded. So they're getting life skills, but they've got great, great questions. And these young individuals, they want to know what's going on. So that really impacted me because previous semester I had a bunch of lazy students, and we had a come to Jesus conversation that semester where it was like, all right, so every single one of you want to become a personal trainer, a speed and strength coach. You want to work in the exercise industry. What does that require? Motivation, right? A strong work ethic. And anyway, I had student athletes that were doing modification or just kind of copping out on the workouts. And I said, I can tell you this right now. You may want to rethink the industry that you're going in. If you are struggling motivating yourself, how do you expect to motivate others? I said, I've been in this industry for over 20 plus years, and we want to make sure that we have the strongest individuals with a mindset and physical components going into the fitness industry. But then after clearly teaching, I drive back into my computer, make sure that I'm getting other tasks done, take care of my chickens, my birds, all that fun stuff. My son, Pat and I flip-flop in regards to making supper at night. And then it's making sure that I'm trying to, I shouldn't say trying because I don't like that word at all, that I'm going to knock out everything that I need to and then preparing for the next day. But no, I'm very grateful. I'm very blessed because being on the farm, our closest neighbor is 2 miles away. We're on 11 acres. So my goal is to build retreats out on the farm, but then also have different summits. I have a 5-hour crucible that I'm going to be launching in 2026 to take people through a little hellacious workout, and then combining some fun little tidbits in with that to help them become their strongest warrior self.
Oh, wow. Now, see, now you've sparked my interest. Now, this is going to be actually at your homestead there? You plan on doing it? Is this like a 1-day thing? Is it a multi-day thing? I mean, what does it actually look like? 2 days?
It'll be a 2-day because we'll have different components on the back end. So the first thing will be the crucible in the morning, and we're doing it in the spring/summer, everybody. So you don't have to worry about the -40 temps, but man, that would, I mean, we could call it so many, like, winning over the frozen tundra, right?
Nothing says taking it to the red line like hypothermia. I mean, we actually did a class with, Alan Kay. Did you get a chance to meet? Yeah, I introduced you to Alan from season 1 of Alone, and we did last February. So we were still hitting, late 20s, early 30s, and we did a 3-day survival class there at that campground. And it was, everybody rolled in, and right out of the gate, Alan's like, all right, give me your cigarettes, your dip, your cell phone, your pack, everything that you have in your pockets, throw them into this pile. All right, now go build a shelter with nothing. And so it was day 1. Everybody just about froze to death. But that was one of those great, type of things where, getting people out of their comfort zone, because creature comforts are your worst enemy when it comes to survival, right? And being a person that smoked for years and years and years, it's been 5 years now that I've not, but,
that's awesome.
Those things like that, those little creature comforts, those little things, whether it's coffee, whether it's chocolate, whatever it is, when those are gone, boy, you really have to start staring at your inner self. So, that would be great. I'm thinking 40 below zero training. That sounds like a blast. You've got the homestead, you've got the chickens. I did see your Quonset workout room. Very jealous, not gonna lie. Pretty awesome little pad. Where are you heading from here? What's the next step?
You want to know what my big audacious goal is?
Absolutely.
to be the top female motivational speaker. That is my goal. And I will get there, right? Step by step. So between books, classes, my nonprofit, I'm really excited to create nationwide curriculum for youth. That's what it's all about. So not only just teaching them how to grow their own food, but the importance of how you feel is how you feel. So we're going to have a lot of different things working with the five senses, different frequencies, energy, so that they truly understand their body. And then we can start turning that dial backwards instead of forward when it comes to that 2030 of almost 100 million more children becoming obese. You know what? We have to put on the brakes here. We have to make sure that we're getting in the driver's seat and just instead of watching it happen. So that's what it's all about.
Absolutely. No, and the youth, you know, all these stinking communists, they've been shooting for the youth the entire time. We've
100%.
got to do the same to bring them back this direction. So we are at an hour in. This flew by. Had a blast, Mariah. I couldn't thank you enough. We've got to do this again. We've got to get together
Absolutely.
again and chit chat and talk. What would you like to leave everybody out here in the audience with, and those who could watch this, who are maybe struggling with where they're at in life? Because in this day and age, I know personally, it's really easy to get into that rut, you know, really get into that rut. This world is designed to put us in that state of the matrix, you know, like Billy would say, just in the state of blah. Somebody struggling, you know, where do they start? What do you leave them with?
Start with phase one. I think the key thing for individuals is, if you're going to help and assist and support somebody, is meet them where they're at. But also keep in mind that what you're currently facing right now is temporary. And the best thing that you can do is move forward. You know, action creates movement in life. So make sure that, hey, get into that physical mountain. Get those natural endorphins going. A quick pill isn't going to fix a long-term component, right? So it's about creating a healthy lifestyle, and it all starts with you. It starts with the very first choice that you make in the morning. It's literally step by step. So whether it's meditation, drinking water, hydration, food, movement, there's so many different opportunities that are waiting for you. Your dream wouldn't have been presented to you if it wasn't for you to fulfill.
Awesome. Well, once again, thank you, Mariah, for taking time out of your super busy schedule to come hang out with us and chit chat. It's been a pleasure. Can't wait for the next time. Remember, guys, Define the Fight. That's the podcast. Check that thing out. Follow her on that social media. Thanks a lot, Mariah. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. I appreciate everything that you're doing.
Awesome. Well, you guys, that's a wrap. It's been too long. We'll be back in the saddle moving forward next Monday. I can't remember who my guest is because I don't really have one yet because I shoot from the hip, and that's how I roll. But you guys, you know the drill. Be safe and stay ready. Rusk, roll us out of here. We'll see you guys next Monday.